There's currently 467 people missing in Arkansas. 16 of these missing souls are under the age of 18. Cleashindra Hall is one of the 16 that's missing, but she isn't just one of the unsolved mysteries. To her family, she was everything. This is Cleashindra's story, through the eyes of strangers. It's been 25 years since the family of Cleashindra Hall last saw her. Now her family asks for answers as they live with the unknown. On May 9th, 1994, Cleashindra Hall, known to her family as Clea, started the day out like most high school or seniors in Pine Bluff, Arkansas. She got herself ready for school, and her mom dropped her and her brother off. Her mom picked her up at school around 2:30 p.m. because she was on an early release program for high schoolers with jobs. Her plans were to go to work early that day so she could save some money up for Boston, where after graduation she would be doing a summer internship at a pediatrician office. Clea had a bright future ahead of her. She had recently attended her high school prom, and the honor roll student was scheduled to graduate in a couple of weeks. And after her internship over the summer, she was accepted to enter the pre-med program at Tennessee State University. Her dream was to be a pediatrician. Clea did clerical work at her after-school job at the home of Dr. Larry Amos, who was 43 years old at the time of her disappearance. One of her friends was leaving the job and was looking for someone to replace her, and the office was located on Fawcett Road, less than a mile from her hometown and minutes away from Clea's home. Her mom took her to her job early that afternoon, but there was no one there, so Clea went home and took a nap. Her employer's wife called later on, and Clea got up and left for her job, but she left her purse and driver's license at home. Her mother dropped her off around 5 o'clock p.m. and watched her walk into the house. Later on that evening, Clea called home around 8:30 p.m. to ask if anyone had called her, like teenagers normally did back before we had cell phones. A family member told her no one had called for her, so she hung up. As Clea's mother waited for Clea to call her back to come pick her up from work, she fell asleep. Clea's dad came home around midnight, and as he did his usual routine of checking the children's rooms, making sure all was okay before going to bed himself, he seen that Clea was not in her room, so he woke his wife up, asking where she was at. After her mother woke up, she realized Clea never called her, so she immediately calls Dr. Larry Amos to see where she was. He told her mother she left around 8:30 p.m., but he did not know who picked her up. Clea had never been that type of child that caused any parent to worry. She was a good person and never showed signs of running away, so her mother thought maybe she's just testing the boundaries because of her age, so she waited up all night long, waiting for her to return. Morning rolls around and she's still not home, and her parents were starting to breathe in the reality of the situation, and they were worried to death, but was hoping maybe, even thought she didn't even come home. Maybe she would just show up at school. But once her brother got to school, he could not find her anywhere, and he called home and told his parents. Heartbroken, they called the police department, but was told, being that she's 18, they would have to wait 24 hours. At 5 o'clock p.m. that day, 24 hours had went by since Clea's mother had dropped her off at Dr. Larry Amos's house for work. So they went to the police station and filed a missing person report, then started making missing posters to hang around town. Still, no one came forward with any information or sightings of Clea. Due to an unclear understanding, there is no proof for the following statements I'm about to state. It has been stated the girl that had helped Clea get the job has stated in an interview that she was a co-worker of Clea's. She had left Dr. Amos's residence shortly before 8:30 on May 9th and had offered Clea a ride. Clea told her she was planning to walk home. Clea's family stated that this was not true, that the girl no longer worked for Dr. Amos. There was also a boy that was subjected to police interrogation, and his vehicle was searched. but the police could not connect him to the disappearance, and he did not provide any leads. The boy was also subjected to a polygraph test, but the results were inconclusive. She was slowly becoming another beautiful young girl disappearing into this world without any evidence of foul play. Church and community members conducted searches in the days after her disappearance, but found absolutely nothing. Dr. Larry Amos left town the day of her disappearance for a trip to Texas for business reasons, is what's been stated. When he returned from his trip after several days, he went to the police station and gave a statement of his story of what happened that day. Days following Clea's disappearance, there were no leads and no signs of her. No one seen anything. 2 weeks following Clea's disappearance, the police searched the home of Dr. Larry Amos, which also served as his office, since that was the last place where Clea had been seen, but law enforcement found no evidence of a struggle there. But if he had anything to do with her disappearance, he had 2 weeks to get rid of evidence. He did leave the day after she disappeared. Why did the police wait weeks to examine a potential crime scene? A lieutenant of the Pine Bluff Police Department has reported that their search of the Amos home failed to turn up any evidence that Clea was either injured or attacked there. Dr. Larry Amos's property has been searched by a warrant. A detective that was investigating Clea's disappearance stopped by Dr. Larry Amos's neighbor's home asking questions about that evening of the disappearance and if they had seen or heard anything. Dr. Amos walked outside and was watching what was going on, and the detective asked the neighbor if they could step inside to speak because they could not talk in front of that crook, referring to Dr. Amos. Unknowingly to the detective, the neighbor he was talking to was also a renter from Dr. Amos, and once the detective left, Dr. Amos asked the neighbor what the detective was saying, and his renter repeated the words from the detective. Dr. Amos filed a complaint with the Civil Service Commission, and the detective received a reprimand that was added to his file. After this event, it seemed the police department found it hard to perform an effective investigation because anything they did or said could easily be labeled as harassment against the police department, and he could press charges against them. Months and years rolled by with no news about Clea's disappearance. Nothing. Her family could not accept the runaway theory, nor that she left walking. She would have stayed at Dr. Amos's home until her mother picked her up. She would just not run away. She did not bring her purse with her, and she left her driver's license at home. She was just 2 weeks from graduating and was going to college to study to be a pediatrician she was ecstatic about. On March 29, 2012, nearly 18 years after her disappearance, just days before her high school graduation, the search for Clea took place to the last place she was seen. Police spent most of the day searching a house at 5309 Fawcett Road and an adjacent house, both owned by Larry Amos. A couple of people who claimed to have worked on Amos's house came forward. One described a horrible smell and noticed flies around a spot. Another person said he saw blood spattered on insulation. An affidavit for a search warrant obtained sworn and unsworn statements linked Dr. Amos to the disappearance of Clea. A sworn statement indicates the observance of a false wall inside the residence containing blood on the insulation. Also, statements indicate that the body was buried on the property at 5309 Fawcett Road in a hole where bricks, rocks, and powdered concrete was used to cover up something. No body was found in the house, but police did recover 4 items of evidence that, according to the inventory list prepared by police, were recovered from the west wall. A crime scene technician packaged the items taken from Dr. Larry Amos's home. However, once the packaged evidence reached the police department evidence room, she realized she needed additional information for the submission form. However, she did not get around to it. They had one job to do, and could not do it correctly. She stated that it's not that I forgot it was there, it's just it got pushed aside for something else. Something else? After an internal investigation into why the evidence in the case sat at the police department for more than a month before being sent to the crime lab resulted in a 5-day suspension for the crime scene technician. The fact that there were so many people, so many officers, it seems like the evidence would have been important. So what made it so different that you didn't follow the procedures that you follow every day is the question the family has asked, and I ask. It was stated the crime lab had indicated the tests on the evidence from the Amos house were negative for blood, and the evidence would be sent to another section of the crime lab for DNA testing. There have been no further statements made by police regarding whether that was done. Almost 27 years later, Clea's family is forced to live without her. 27 years without a sister or daughter. It's pretty obvious she did not leave on her own. Whether she left walking, accepted a ride in a car, or never left the house alive, someone has caused her disappearance, and that's just not acceptable. Clea had no reason to leave on her own. She was too busy planning for her future as a pediatrician. Cleashindra is 18 years old. She's an African-American girl. On the day she disappeared, she was 5'8" and weighed 120 pounds. She has dark eyes and dark hair. She had short hair at the time of her disappearance and was wearing it in a ponytail when she was last seen. Her only other distinctive feature was a surgical scar on her left knee. She was wearing a white 2-piece short set imprinted with large navy blue polka dots on the shorts and navy blue stripes on the blouse, white socks, white sneakers, small studded earrings, and a white bow-type ponytail holder. She was active in school and church activities, including her school and church choir and the school band at the time of her disappearance. She also enjoyed reading. Foul play is suspected in her case. Investigators believe she was probably murdered by someone she knew and trusted. Her case remains unsolved. It has been stated, but we cannot confirm, Dr. Larry Amos refused a polygraph test. If anyone knows anything about Clea Hall's disappearance, please call the Pine Bluff Police Department at 870-543-5111, 870-543-5112, or 501-543-5100. The administrators of the Missing Truth is holding Clea and her family in our prayers. May peace be with you. For further updates on Clea's case, please subscribe to the Missing Truth to receive notifications, like us, and leave us a comment. If you have a family member or a friend that is missing and you feel their case needs more exposure, please contact us by email at themissingtruth1@gmail.com or send us a private message on our Facebook page. Like our Facebook page, join our private Facebook group for discussion, follow us on TikTok and Instagram. Thank you to the young lady who reached out to us asking us to share Clea's story. Always remember, some sort of truth remains in a lie. Have a good night.